investments, would you describe this as a positive change for Niger Delta and Nigeria as a whole in terms of infrastructure, healthcare, and employment? Is it positive?
It is very positive because it is about development. It's when foreign investors come in, there are terms and conditions. It's not just a 10 million naira investment. It's a long-term investment in infrastructure. We need infrastructural development. We cannot continue to have toilets by the waterside. But if we have infrastructural development, all those things will go with the old things. We will have accommodation that will have housing, shelter that will bring along or take away, if you like, this sort of unsightly things. Now, the sort of developers that want to come into the Niger Delta and that we should encourage to come into the Niger Delta should be developers that are going to develop along the lines of infrastructure, along the lines of education, along the lines of industry, development, agriculture, things that will grow a nation, things that will grow a country, things that will grow a state. And for investors to come into Rivers State, for instance, Rivers State does not have to be a country for investors to come into it. Rivers State can remain Rivers in Nigeria, in Niger Delta, and we can have investors come in and invest. The problem we have is the 1999 Constitution that has taken away a lot of these rights that should be at state level. I see no reason why the federal government has to have a say in how Rivers State is developed. I don't see why federal government has to have a say in what happens in my local government area. A lot of oil and gas is coming from places like Kola and Soku, for instance, which is in my local government area. And Kola and Soku, while they are the community in whose land and waters these resources are, there is still not a full functional hospital, not to talk of school, in places like Kola and Soku, which is wrong. There is no infrastructure that will take us. There is no bridge that will take Kola people within 1 hour from Port Harcourt or Abonima to Kola, but it can be done. This can be built. Nigeria has been independent since 1960. And so, if it has not been done since 1960, and it has not been done since 1999, we must begin to ask questions, and we must begin to insist that it be done in this decade, that we have a program, a blueprint for Rivers State, where you actually have roads connecting the creeks, the communities, and the fishing ports in the creeks, because that's where the wealth is coming from. It's not a crime to be wealthy. Why are we not benefiting from the wealth?
Okay, so speaking of the rise of foreign investors, what should the youth of Niger Delta do to stop possible extortion or misuse of our resources?
I don't possible extortion. Extortion from
mineral resources.
Well, I mean, if you're saying that what can we do to stop the federal government, for instance, from taking all our resources, we have to change the constitution, because it's the constitution that has given the federal government that right. Because the solid minerals that are in other states, in the north, the gold and things like that, is not owned by federal government. But what federal government is laying claim to is the mineral resources of oil and gas. And so the only way we're going to own our resources 100% is for a change in the constitution. And the federal government will not get up and change the constitution because they love the oil-producing states and people. The people of the producing states and communities are the people that will have to rise up and say no to our politicians. You must make these changes. We must make the call. And that's why the call for restructuring is very important. And if we accept that the federal government will not accept restructuring, we must insist on another form of change. That change will have to begin with us calling for the right of the state government to be able to access the resources in our land. A lot of things will have to come into play, even things like civil disobedience. But we must change a system, a policy that has been formulated, a system that has been packaged to go against the people, for instance, the oil-producing states, that the federal government laying claim to these resources is not in our interest yesterday. It was not in our interest yesterday. It's not in our interest today. It will not be in our interest tomorrow. So we must change it today and tomorrow. Already yesterday is gone. We must make those changes today and tomorrow. So it's very dependent on the understanding of you and I, and what we're prepared to do, and our politicians, what our politicians are prepared to take on.